It's hard. So if I go any more, I'll probably lift the vehicle up, and I'm at 100% thrust down now.
It's not going more?
Well, you see the port starting to move there? We can wait here for a minute.
Do you know what depth they need for the mineralogy?
Oh, this would be for Lawrence, this one?
Yeah, well, we have 3 others that we can do for NWMO.
I'll wait here for a minute and see if I can get any more on it, but
I've,
I think that's...
I don't know that a minimum depth, but I think is what we can get.
Yeah.
If I record from previous cruises, Lawrence was happy to get any soft sediment from this area. So
You see as I press down, the port's starting to lift up. So if I go any more, what will smear, and then, you know, we'll wipe out the core, and probably the other 2 there.
Yeah, so let's not risk it. I think those other 2.
See? Ooh.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, that's full thrust down. Well, I have 2% more there, 99% thrust down. Yeah, that's
so
it.
if we let's say if we will have to, we will clear this one and try one closer to the vehicle. Do you think we'll have more thrust?
No.
No?
No, and based on the what we saw the other one coming out, it's really hard pan there, so it's
Okay.
I doubt if it's gonna come out. I could shake it around for half an hour and trying, but I don't know. Pull it out, see what we get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I might be totally mistaken and it'll just bottom will just fall out, but
Yeah.
it's a good core, micro, but it's not immediately sloughing out, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Can we freeze both of those to give to Lawrence, and then these 3 will be our NWMO cores?
Yeah, I think that's...
And so one's less disturbed but smaller, and one's more disturbed but more sediment?
Yeah, yeah.
Something like that?
So it's, yeah, cores
4 and 5.
4
and
and 5
5.
are for Lawrence. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll note that.
It's not in the quiver yet, so
Yeah, good point.
count your chickens before they're hatched. This back one is...
You know, I've received gifts with a lot of sentiment, and I think he's going to get a gift now with a lot of sediment.
You're killing me. I can't laugh and operate this manipulator at the same time. I needed a pause there, but thank you. I was waiting for visibility. Does that qualify as a dad joke?
I think so. I have a bit of a reputation. I'll try and keep it to a dull roar.
We need some levity to get this thing in the hole here. This one is challenging because can't see.
Who put that other sediment core there?
I don't know. What was I thinking? The bonus is the core's not falling out. Usually we wouldn't have this much time to play around. Come on. Where are you? Ah, now I see it.
All right, so confirm that one was placed in quiver number 5.
Quiver number 5. It's a love tap. That seals the, in theory, that seals the bottom of the sample on a rubber bung that's in there. Okay.
So our viewers at home is kind of like when you use your straw and you put your thumb over the end in your drink and pull out some of your drink.
Exactly. So what is that on there, Danny? 1/32 rubber on the top?
Something like that, yeah. So there's a sheet of rubber on top of it with a washer. So when you push it in, the water on the inside gets pushed out and then replaced by the dirt.
So that
Creates
one,
a vacuum when it's inside.
that one is also lifting the vehicle, so that's it. See the porch come up there just ever so slightly?
Yep.
I'm going to pull this one and put it in some quiver.
Do you,
Yep.
know, do you know the number of this one? The order?
This was the third one taken,
Okay.
and so if it ends up in number 3, that would be
Ideal.
lovely.
Ideal.
You can tell that gray.
Lovely, ideal.
We've seen that gray. See that gray color there?
Yeah.
That stuff is like, you got to get a chisel to get it off the ROV.
Like glue.
It's very sticky.
And now in the future we'll be deploying some sediment traps. Will that give us an idea of what the precipitation rate of the sediment is? Like, can that be collaborated with the depth of these push cores?
Yeah, it's similar to what the core that we collected for Lawrence Coogan, right? He's interested in how much of the minerals are falling out from the chimneys.
Can you make another note in the red book, Danny?
The sediment traps also measure that
Starboard rail
fallout
camera
of particles
needs to be tilted down a little bit.
from the vents, but of course you also receive particles from the surface as well.
We had all of our cameras off the vehicle this winter for maintenance. We completely rewired the J-box, and we obviously don't have them quite dialed in yet. Maybe it takes a couple dives.
Perhaps it's a little too Canadian of me, but I can't help but think of snow and how the snow accumulates and builds up.
Yeah.
I also wonder what those creatures are thinking. You know, this robot shows up, takes some of the dirt, and off we go.
Take part of their yard, their backyard, right?
Now, that would be amazing. You wake up in the morning and a big chunk of your backyard's missing.
Well, if this thing in the sky with that many lumens came at me in the dark, I'd be terrified.
Do they have eyes?
The sea cucumbers?
The sea cucumbers, yeah.
They have some structures that, yeah, resemble.
I was thinking maybe they didn't even see us.
They could be.
Just a little bit more on that one.
And they definitely have some photo receptors.
That's interesting because they live in the dark.
Yeah, but here we're not quite. We're not quite in the abyss yet. Well, here we're 2,300 meters. Well,
It's definitely a good cord.
Definitely
and
no
look at the
more
gray
light,
on
but
it.
these animals, they have a depth, they live in a range of depths, right? So let's say this sea cucumbers live from 2,000 to 1,000 meters. At 1,000 meters, we still have a little bit of the some of the light still penetrates, even we cannot see it, right? Like 800, 900 meters. So they're still able to see some light because they still need. But let's say fish and other species that live 4,000 or 5,000 meters and they never make to those depths here, then a lot of them have lost their eyes and visual structures.
We've got a viewer wondering if there was an earthquake down here, what do we think it would look like? Would that sediment all fluff up?
If there was an earthquake?
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. If there's an earthquake, would we get a big dust cloud, or
Oh yeah.
maybe it would depend on how deep the earthquake is.
Hasn't there been a few here lately? Like 200 of them?
Yeah, there were a lot in March. At the subduction zone nearby.
Spreading center, not subduction zone.
Oh, is it? Oh, this is the subduction zone's on the other side.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Spreading center. Thank you. Yeah, confirm that leftmost core went in quiver number 2, and now we'll go back to get the last core. First core, last core.
First core, last core.
That's the last task on this dive.
Assuming Hercules
That's the last task on this dive.
floats. Do you float, Hercules? Why don't you float?
Can I give you a DVL reset?
Sure. You got 0 beam, so, because I'm in the mud.
Okay.
Come on, Herc. Float for me. Float, float. There it goes. So sticky. It's like stuck in the mud.
So, and after this, are we on our way back up?
More like clay.
Once we get this last core, yeah. There's no, yeah, we've decided, I think, that we're not going to do any photogrammetry here because the still cam. So, yeah, we'll just come back up.
Awesome.
No photogrammetry?
No photogrammetry.
Jonathan's going to be devastated. I don't know how we missed the camera adjustment on the core tubes. See Hercules tracks there. That's where we slid around in the...
That clay layer.
Yeah. That's why the vehicle gets stuck.
just thinking about the earthquakes. I know there's some footage online of some divers in an earthquake underwater, and it's got all the sediment going everywhere. So maybe that'll give us an idea of what might happen. Now, have you ever had a push core get so stuck you have to leave it behind?
Yeah, we've melted them.
Melted them?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Can you tell me more?
Trying to take core samples a little too close to the,
To the vent?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of the vent fluid. There's some,
That's a full one.
the way it moves through the,
This is
what's the word I want?
number one. Oh, yeah, we're going backward.
The order in the quiver matches exactly the order in which they were placed.
Okay.
And then they were recovered 4, 5, 3, 2, 1.
We didn't plan it that way. It just happened. Part of the other challenge coming around here to the right is to keep them vertical the whole time. These guys aren't too picky, but some scientists, if you get it like 10 degrees off, it's...
So when you get into the real silty sand on the bottom and it just falls out if you bump it.
Yeah, so you don't have all this time. If it was silty, that core would have slid out by now. Okay, is that really it? I was looking forward to a 12-hour dive. You're gonna make me put my boots on.
We still have to go back and pick up the CTD
Oh, yeah.
before we leave, leave it on the node.
We don't even have, there's none of the jars on, is there? Okay.
All right, everyone happy? Megan, you're happy with all the impositions?
Hydraulics are still alive,
Yep.
Danny.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, ROV, we can go back to the node to collect the CTD that we left on top.
Roger. Trying to see if Hercules will float, blasting off again.
Looks like about 3.5 meters, 330.
Roger. I'll take that ship move back if you want.
Bridge nav. Can we have 20 meters, 330, please? Thank you.
You want to chase us around with Atalanta there?
Yep, on my way.
See you, Fabio. Don't push your luck. So typically what we'll do is secure the CTD using using the right manipulator against the porch, and then we'll let the cable hang below for recovery.
Yeah, I think we can bracelet it so we don't have to do that.
Okay.
Come up a bit there, Danny.
Come up.
I think so. That's the tether getting a little close to Atalanta.
Coming up on the winch.
That's probably good. Looked like that tether was.
Is that the CTD sitting right on top there?
Sure is.
Nice. And maybe another good question for you, in terms of scale, how big is this node?
Yuko asked us that as well.
I was sleeping. I got a freebie on that one.
Okay. Yeah, what did we say? It's like a car. It's like the size of a.
Well, yeah,
A
the
vehicle.
trawl resistant frame, which is the yellow
Like-
part
like-
on the sides.
The big trapezoid shape?
Yeah, that would be about the size of a car. And then right on top, what you're looking
Let
at
me know
right
when
now
you're
that
ready.
the CTD is sitting on
I'm
is
gonna
a float package.
take the craft and you take the Orion on this one. We're gonna try some.
Yeah,
But- But the real guts
We're
of the
gonna try and
node are
bracelet
two
it,
containers.
And then I'll hold it while you pin it.
and how many things can we plug into those guts?
Ooh, let's see. This node has
You come down a couple meters.
four junction boxes coming directly off of it. And then some of those junction boxes are daisy chained to other junction boxes.
The old power bar into a power bar into a power bar.
That's right.
But I mean, I guess we don't have a fire hazard down here.
Yeah, if you can look at the Herc, so make sure we're okay there.
No, the yellow doesn't rust. What's it made out of? Is it rusty?
The yellow that the ROV is sitting on right now would be a syntactic foam,
Okay.
I imagine, which is kind of a glass bead composite that provides flotation that doesn't collapse under great pressure. And then the frame around the sort of the sides, that's just yellow paint on steel.
So the rusty looking parts that you're talking about, Monica, that
Well, I
looks
could
like
grab that
sediment
tube if
on
you
top
want
of
me
it.
I see. I see.
Hold on.
So is everything going to go in the same toolbox, or are we going to put that parking position in a different spot and then the CTD in a different spot?
We're gonna basically grab it up and pin it with our manipulators.
I'm going to hold it.
Yeah.
Onto the porch, yeah.
Cool.
Hold it against the porch. It's a little too big to fit in any of the boxes.
Kind of reminds me when I'm trying to charge my phone on my battery and I've got the cable everywhere.
I think you have to come over that plate, don't you? I can't. Maybe I don't have a good
Maybe I do.
over that one and under the next one.
Tilt down just a bit for me. Ah, duh. Thank you. I would have been there for a while.
I figured I'd give you a few minutes.
Thanks for letting me struggle for a little. I hate it when it does that.
Well, I can grab that if you want me to.
I am gonna want you to grab it, but I want to bracelet it first so we don't have this.
Now, you probably get this asked a lot, but are you particularly good at those crane games you see in arcades? Do you just go clean those out after this kind of practice?
Horrible at those things.
No? No correlation?
No, not really.
When you've got a moment, perhaps you can tell us what is a good way to practice with this kind of stuff? Is there a way to practice?
Yeah.
On deck.
Excavator, backhoe, RC, any kind of remote controlled plane, car.
Oh, drones?
Yeah. I can't fly a drone for
Farm sim.
farm sim, yeah.
There's a Canadian company in Newfoundland that does an ROV simulator.
I have been in that ROV simulator, and of course, they were giving me the instructions, and they said, no, whatever you do, this button here, and I pushed it, and he finished with, don't push it. And of course, the simulator, my ROV, crashed right into the bottom.
Let me slide it over a little so you can see the.
I can see the big tube right there in front of me.
Can you? I can't. There, now I can see it. Turn on the light.
Luckily, he did give me another try, and I didn't have to put in another quarter.
Can you open the
You have
iris
to
of
buy
it?
another ROV.
No.
Okay, if you can see it, pin it.
We have a great community of listeners. There's a listener who's noted that ROV Atlantis possibly was down when there was a 4.7 earthquake in the Caribbean. So there might be some footage there for our other viewer who asked what might happen in an earthquake.
I can get a better grip than that if I...
Yeah, you got. You just hold that. I'll slide it over a little.
Well, I see what I need to do.
Okay, close and lock. Are you locked?
Yep.
Okay, we're out of here. Hopefully the Fletcher will stay in.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on it, but it won't go far since you've got the cable on the bracelet.
Yeah, I could probably continue the bracelet and pin the Fletcher. Might be pushing my luck.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Right. I think it's fine.
I mean, we're prepared to let the entire cable dangle below the sub, so
Yeah, it's just,
anything's better than that.
it's just hard for Mike, and it's the first recovery.
Oh, I
with
know,
the
I
new
get
deck crew,
it.
and make it as easy as we can for
No,
him.
I get it. Just from the equipment standpoint, we're not particularly choosy in this regard. All right, say goodbye to Endeavour Node.
Would be a good time for another dad joke.
Go for
Yeah,
it.
what?
They say there's no place like home.
There's no place like home.
Killing me.
Wow.
Who's got the sound effect drum roll?
I have the sound effects, it's not hooked up yet. What do we need to do here? You need to spin some way. I'm gonna run this way. I cannot hear you.
Atlanta has 0.6 tether reps.
Yeah, I'm more cared about my tether reps. Yeah. So you want to spin whatever way to take that 0.7 out.
Now I'm putting 681 tether reps in.
Yeah, we're not bothered about that. It's the tether we care about. If you actually hold that heading to the north,
Okay.
is that going to be right? No, you need to do a turn.
Okay, now you're adding tether reps.
Yeah, I always forget which way, Danny. Those lights are some weird with those lights. Can you take it out or not?
I'm trying. It's not really wanting to.
Maybe I'm too tight. I can spin. Maybe I'll just spin. Hold your heading.
Okay, holding at 45 degrees.
Yeah, it's me that needs to spin, sorry. Come up on the winch, please.
How much you want me to come up?
20 meters. 20 delta. Yeah, you can keep coming up. That's Hercules off bottom. Should be able to pull your auto heading off now too. We might have to see what we're making here. We might have to drop a weight. Unless you want to come up at your 10 meters a minute.
Yeah, that's fine. Just let us know the coordinates if you're going to drop one.
Roger.
The problem is our arms are preoccupied.
If I can get 20, that's our published ascent rate. Are we going to do the 10 meters a minute for the last 1,000?
It wasn't in the plan, but if that's our maximum ascent speed, then no, we'll come up as fast as you guys will go.
Get 15.
He's just seeing it. He's seeing how fast he can go.
Slow down a minute, Danny. Let me catch up to you there. We're not quite tail to tail yet. Actually, you can come all stop for a minute. Let's make sure our tether's clean before we start coming up.
Now you had said you got some wraps or partial wraps in the cable. How do you know that you've got wraps in the cable?
We have, if you look on Hercules GUI there, there's to the left or to the right of this little blue box, there's a thing that says 6/8 wraps and then one that says tether wraps. So the computer keeps track of it for us.
Basically counting the times the compass rolls all the way around.
I see. So
Nav is, nav's not right, is it?
we want some zero readings so that the cable's straight.
Can you switch us to USBL?
Oh, we should be on USBL.
Yeah. Are you out of auto heading, Danny?
No?
Huh?
No.
Oh, take it out of auto heading.
No, it's not on auto heading.
It's not on auto heading. What is happening here? Okay, that's looking better. I see what's happening. Yeah. We also, the aft camera needs to be tilted up as well. That's another note for the red book.
On our way up here, do you have any favorite sightings? Maybe I'll kind of ask the group here, you know, shipwrecks, species, vents, cool things. Is there a top
Match
list?
it, see what we can get. I think we're going to have to drop a weight.
AJ, I'm going to ask you first.
I mean, I've only really looked at like Neptune infrastructure.
That can count.
I mean, sometimes like you see like a cool, like a cheeky octopus in a connector or something, like on an IP that tries to fight you, but no, haven't seen anything really
Really?
far out.
Flange pulls?
Flange pools are cool, yeah.
Beehives?
Whoa, what's a flash pool?
Scale worms?
I don't know what a beehive is.
You guys are in for some once-in-a-lifetime treats on this cruise.
Oh.
Ooh-wee. Dan can explain flange pools.
Yeah, what's a flange pool?
It's basically an upside-down lake.
An upside-down lake.
So around the hydrothermal vents, when vent fluid gets caught underneath like an outcropping,
A flange.
a flange,
There you go.
it creates like a, I guess it's maybe like a difference in density of the fluid, makes it kind of shimmer as if it's kind of water upside down.
It sounds fantastic.
It is fantastic. Vent fluid is full of, you know, heavy metals, and so it's denser than seawater, but because it's warmer, it's rising, so it gets caught in these flange pools, and they're absolutely gorgeous. They're filled with all kinds of sparkly bling all the way around, as we call it.
Cool.
Massive sulfides. I don't know if that's right on a chimney. Beehives are a structure that's formed where the vent fluid's coming out of the structure, and they, I don't know, they look like an old school beehive. They're very friable, very fragile. Get just a wash from the ROV will knock them over. But the vent fluid's coming out of them, and it's shimmering and kind of looks like it's bubbling or on fire, almost looks like a candle.
Wow.
I don't know if it's a legit term or not, but it was coined years and years ago. One of my first trips out here, phase separation, when it looks like it's on fire like a propane flame. I still haven't figured out if that's a legit word or it's just a scientist blowing smoke up my behind. But
Well, sometimes it can be both, you know. I mean, there was a petition to rename a group of squids a squad, and that came through. So you get a squid squad. So maybe it'll be a what we call it, a phase.
phase separation, they were
Phase-
calling it.
phase
Yeah,
separation.
it looks like the vent's on fire.
Cool.
You have this really awesome blue, white, flame-looking vent fluid coming out. And it's challenging to get good imagery of because you're around, you know, hot water that can French fry things on the ROV, and limited visibility, and then the structures are, you know, there's all this stuff coming out and then landing. So the disturbances you saw us make here are it's a lot harder to fly around the structures without disturbing them because everything is just, you know, landed there, and the littlest bit of wrong thrust and, you know, visibility's gone. And then you have the smoke, of course, like, you know, driving through thick fog at times.
Is this looking like our ascent rate, Dan?
What's that?
Is this our ascent rate? Or are we going to drop a weight or no?
I think we're going to have to drop a rate. I don't know. It's
We're going 15 meters a minute now.
Yeah.
And if we drop a weight, you think we'll get to 20?
Yeah, we'll get to 20 if we drop a weight.
Megan's doing some math here. Figure out how much time it's going to save us.
Yeah, 15 is kind of
130
minutes?
160 minutes to surface, and then take 25% of that off.
Yeah, right now my machine says 160 to surface. You're probably looking at the same number.
I was indeed. 160 times 0.75. So it'd be 2 hours versus 2 hours and 40 minutes. It was a 40-minute difference. Do we, or we just take a lat long of where we dropped it? It's going to go straight down.
We can move the ship off the site first, but I'm way to the south. You can see on the nav screen there all the green squigglies and little yellow herc down to the south there.
I mean, 2 hours, it'll be 8, 10. People will be on, it'll be breakfast. People will be on deck. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it'd be nice to let people get breakfast. They'll be irritated if we come up during breakfast. Especially we were planning a 12-hour dive, but
Yeah, so we'll just keep coming up.
I'm not bothered about having.
We'll keep coming
Making
up. I
people
don't.
mad.
I don't think the extra 40 minutes is going to kill us
I'm
today, and we'll respect the MPA by not putting another weight in it.
Roger. Makes my life easier because they're challenging to rig underneath the porch there.
Bridge nav.
Now, Here's a question
Hey,
for you.
we're coming up off the bottom. Expect to be at the surface in about 2.5 hours. Thank you.
Would we ever control our ascent to preserve a creature or a sample? Like if we come up too fast, will that possibly change? I mean, I know the
It's actually,
species.
they if we come up too slow, the scientists will get, what's the word I want? They don't like it because the samples are subject to different water temperatures for a longer period of time, so they're not as preserved as they were when they were taken.
Oh,
So the boxes, the bio boxes on Hercules, that white, thick, high-density poly razzmatazz, not sure what it is kind of like a cooler. And the boxes are actually sealed. Danny just machined the top of both of them. We usually do every year. So they like the water to be as close to the ambient temperature when the boxes were closed as possible. And they're usually in a hurry to get the samples off and get them
so
processed.
interesting.
What is the temperature in the deep ocean?
It's usually about 2C.
And at the surface,
It's like the same temperature in the control van.
yeah, that's right.
It's
We're
getting
trying
a
to
little warmer.
simulate what Hercules is feeling down there.
Right now I'm reading 1.4C on a temp probe. The
That's what my hands are feeling too, it seems.
So
CTD is reading 1.8.
we definitely don't want to rush. We got to get you that hot coffee. So we don't want to be doing this right at breakfast.
It has warmed up in here a little. What do we got now? Oh yeah, we're up to 15 degrees.
Ooh,
Wow, balmy.
It's gone up, so
It's like Hawaii.
when I came in here, it was 12.
It was 12 when you started?
Still
Oh,
trending,
Yes.
still trending up too.
Yeah, it's definitely not as cold as when we first got in here. When
Yeah,
I first got in here.
Yeah, it should be 20 degrees in here all the time. Maybe 19.
I mean,
It's been challenging in Hawaii to keep it at 20.
It was actually hurting my hands during descent because I'm sitting there on the sticks and I'm like
Yeah.
cold to the touch.
Sorry, you should have said something earlier. We have I don't know, several sensors in here. The instrument racks are the ones that we care about, and they're at 24 degrees Celsius. There's a sensor in the back corner where it gets quite warm back there. What happens is,
I'll go over there.
yeah, if you want to get warmed up, go back there. The vans will warm up, especially during, like we have the heat of day, and then during the 1600 watch change. Yeah, we have everyone coming in and out, and then again at dinner, the dinner relief, everyone's coming in and out again. So the equipment in here will overwhelm the HVAC, and once it gets kind of out of the box, we can't get it back. We have to turn all the fans to full blast, and limit the door opening and closing. That's why the new air conditioner behind you was added, and then we painted the roof with some reflective material, and that's really helped.
this one right here, huh?
Yeah, there's a massive amount of power coming out of those video racks over there. It's 120,000 BTUs capability of the HVAC system in here. 2 10-ton units, I believe. The equivalent of.
I've got a viewer mentioning that you can follow the temp and salinity under more data on the main page. So we've got that data available too.
Yeah, all the Grafana pages are on our website.
Cool. So we can
Well, a
follow.
lot of them are.
So over 2 hours, we can track the temperature change.
Do they have access to the control van temperature?
No, I don't think that's published.
That's not on Grafana.
That's not a data deliverable for ONC.
Nope.
It started out as a me playing around with a
Hey,
IoT device. I hung one in here just to track it, and it kind of caught on. It became official. We had to make another 6 of them or something there.
I've got a question about the Grafana pages. I noticed on the one that's down in the galley that it had A-frame accelerations.
Oh yeah,
Is that
a barfilometer.
deliverable data? Could we request that after the cruise?
Yes.
Because that would be super helpful in us determining things like safety factors on dynamic loads
Yeah.
during deployment in different sea states.
We do the same. We our ROV engineer heavily analyzed that data, and then our winch tension data, which we also record.
Mm-hmm.
And when we did the carrier dives, when we dived on the Yorktown, we were right on the edge at 5,000 meters with the cable weight hanging on the A-frame.
Yeah, that's what we're running into, even just CTD casts at 2,200 meters, 3,000 meters. The cable weight itself is so significant.
Yeah.
You have to be really careful about these dynamic loads.
Yeah, and that was the thing. So it basically narrowed our weather window. He worked out, you know, with the accelerations and the past data and the different lengths of wire out, that we could tolerate a 1 meter swell, which is not a lot. And we really lucked out. We had a week of just beautiful weather, and we were able to deploy Atalanta at 5,000 meters.
Oh, that's excellent. So these are logged somewhere.
Yes, they are, yeah.
Perfect. No, yeah, that's going to be really, really helpful for us.
How would we apply that data, AJ?
How would we apply it?
Yeah, helpful to us in what way? What can we do with it?
Well, so when we're going to be lifting heavy objects over the side of the ship, we want to know the amount of tension that's going to be in the cable on our winch, and we want to compare that to what its rated load is. And one of the factors that you add is this dynamic loading factor, which is like how many extra sort of multiples of gravity or something are applied to the object as it gets lifted and lowered in the ocean due to the ship heaving and pitching.
Right, because that's just a huge amount of extra force.
Yeah, so it's like it's your Newton's law of F equals ma. So if the A-frame is accelerating and then you take the mass of the unit that you have subsea, that's force that the cable's going to see. And so you can use it that way. We can also use simulation tools that are out there. The company I used to work for has a simulation tool called Proteus DS, and you can then sort of represent the ship in space and do time domain simulations to get dynamic loads as well, for if we were to do, yeah, I don't know, complex or sensitive deployments where we were really interested in seeing how the ship heave would affect either the loads in the cable, or if you're deploying something to the seafloor and you happen to be paying out at the same time that the ship is coming down, if that creates a larger impact force on the object that you're deploying. Yeah, those kinds of things.
Okay, cool. And that's obviously going to contribute to safety as well. You know, some people wondering why we're not deploying or doing things in certain seas. Well, it's because you got that extra force on and everything. So
exactly, yeah. There's also this really terrible point where if you have an object that's really heavy in air, but it's not very heavy in water because it's made of this, it's composed of a lot of syntactic foam like Hercules is, as it's just entering the water and it changes from being really heavy to really not heavy, then it creates this really dangerous snap load as well, where you can see loads in the cable that are much higher than your static load.
Got a great question about the rest of the expedition. We'll be checking out volcanic activity BC coast this season. So I know that we're headed over to Endeavour, and we're gonna see what's happening with that earthquake swarm. Um, see what we can see.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a couple of dives planned at the hydrothermal vents at Main Endeavour Field. We've got a lot of gas tights to take, which are isobaric water samplers. And we'll be looking to get there as soon as we can, but the weather doesn't look super diveable.
No, not super duper.
Not super duper diveable.
Certainly not for a long enough stretch for a long Main Endeavour field dive.
So no, can't really comment on our schedule as to when we might be doing some of that really interesting stuff.
Well, I think it's all really interesting, but you know, that's why, you know, we can send people to our socials, and then that's where they'll get alerts and things like that we're about to do dives or visit these places. Because once we've got a bit of a plan, they can share that out with folks.
Once we have a plan, it's just a matter of time until it changes.
My grandmother had a saying that life's what happens while you're busy making plans,
Yeah.
and that really seems to apply here. Now, Danny, I got a question for you.
Your mic is up by your head. There you go.
Yeah,
There we
that's better.
go. Did Herc end up getting retrofitted for deeper dive rating, or is Little Herc at Atlanta still needed for the extra deep dives? So I know on our network here, we're only going to about 2,300 meters.
26.
Oh, excuse me, 2,600. Excuse me.
Come on.
Oh,
Cascadia is deeper than Endeavour.
that's right. That's a new one. That's a new one.
So Hercules is only rated to 4,500 meters.
Only rated to 4,500.
4,000?
4,000.
4,000. There's certain things on Hercules
Certain
rated
things,
at 45, but 4,000 are published depth rating. And Atlanta is all this equipment on Atlanta is rated to go to 6,000. The same with Little Herc.
Okay. And Little Herc, so named because there are no arms on him. He's just looking around.
Exactly. Little Herc is an observation ROV. There's no mechanical aspect to it besides just some cameras and lights
Very good. Very
and
good.
thrusters.
Cool. And just there's another note here about when we'll be diving, and again, I'll direct people to our socials because we'll put out some dive alerts when those happen.
Our next plan after this dive is to do some deck operations. So we're going to deploy some autonomous instruments, some ocean bottom seismometers to supplement the sensors that we have plugged into our network and sort of expand the reach of where we're able to measure. And we'll deploy some autonomous sediment traps as well.
Those sediment traps, that sounds like fun. Now, I'm sorry, I didn't forget. Megan, what's your favorite thing you've seen? What's the coolest thing that you've looked at?
The coolest thing I've ever seen offshore?
Well, or favorite sightings, species, vents, shipwrecks. I'll give you the floor to finish the rest of that. What's the coolest thing you've experienced, seen?
Oh, wow. Like ever?
You know, I'll take the one that just pops into their mind because, you know, I feel like ever is gonna be like there's lots to choose from. You have so much experience.
Yeah.
Is there cool stuff to see in the Gulf, or is it less interesting?
In the Gulf of Mexico? Yeah, there's cool stuff. I mean, there's no hydrothermal vents or anything, but yeah, there's quite a bit going on. feel like I'm so tired. My favorite thing to see is the back of my eyelids.
Right? Yep, yep. That is an acceptable answer. Yeah. How about a navigator? Seen anything super cool?
Oh boy.
Oh boy, Lynette. Pressure's on.
I know, it's a lot of pressure.
Well, no pressure. Just when I say, what's a cool thing, what pops into your brain?
I mean, hydrothermal vents are pretty cool.
Yep, yep.
Or are they pretty hot?
Ooh.
A lot of the critters are super cool. Crinoids, amazing.
What's a crinoid?
A crinoid is, gosh, how to describe a crinoid?
Let's see if I can pull up the...
Sometimes called sea lilies, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sea anemone on a long stick.
Yeah, it looks like kind of a feather duster. Little
Oh
bit.
yeah, the feather dusters. I've seen those. Let's see.
They're cool.
I know I recently learned actually there's a really cool crinoid on the OET page, and it's like 6 feet long. You know, you don't realize how big these things can get. How about you, Danny?
Oh, there's been a couple of really cool things. I think my favorite though is gonna have to be looking at the flange pools last year and the smokestacks.
Oh, at Smoke and Mirrors, that was cool.
Smoke and Mirrors was a lot of fun, but also being able to chase an octopus around for about an hour.
Was it relatively okay with your presence and just kind of...
He tried to escape a few times, but we just followed him around.
Cool. Very neat.
On the other vehicle I work on, really cool thing we got to see was these golden corals growing out of the side of an atoll. We were on a cliffside wall and seeing these big gold corals coming out. That was really cool.
I love the biology, and you reminded me of a dive Ocean Networks did a while back on a sponge reef, and there's really good footage of that you can check out in our archive, and the sponge reefs are really amazing. Lots of ancient sort of creatures down there, and that one comes to mind as being a pretty cool experience.
Hey Jake,
Yeah,
what are you studying in Rhode Island?
at school.
Yeah.
Ocean engineering. I'm working on some autonomous vehicles.
Sweet.
Yep.
Is that you're doing your undergrad?
Actually, doctorate.
Your doctorate?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
PhD.
pretty cool. How long is that going to take?
Who knows?
When are you going to finish, Jake? Isn't that every PhD student's favorite
If I
question?
keep coming out here, never.
Yeah. I don't see you working on it.
Yeah.
Jake, can you tell us a little bit about that path?
The path?
Yeah, like how'd you end up working on a doctorate, and you said you keep coming out here, which again we're happy to have you and sounds great, but tell us what set you on this path.
Are we?
Oh yes. Yeah.
I started as an intern about 5 years ago, and then kind of worked my way into coming back on and did some networking, and I've kind of just gained a little bit more experience every year, gotten on more cruises every year, and then throughout that process kind of continued school. It gave me the opportunity to, contract for a couple months out of the year and then get my master's, and then I kind of just continued on. I got opportunities to join labs and made new connections and stuff, so it's kind of just happened. I never thought I would do any grad school when I first did my bachelor's, but
What did you think you were going to do with your bachelor's?
I don't know. I thought I was going to get a job and just like a non-contracting job. This kind of fell into my lap, and I like really wanted to continue to do it. So I just have like immediately when I came out to sea, I was like, this is what I want to do. So
Very cool. I'm a little bit self-similar. I thought I had a totally different plan, and then I found ocean science. I was like, ooh, that's pretty cool. Gonna ask our video engineer. Can you tell us how you ended up there?
Hi.
Hey.
Here, I'll start with my favorite thing that I've seen.
You're a bit quiet, video. I don't know if it's just me.
How about now?
Well, still quiet. Can you hear okay?
Yeah, I can.
Oh.
You are soft-spoken. Maybe you can start us off. Tell us who you are and how you ended up doing the video.
Hey, I'm Ashley. I did an internship in, still a little quiet, 2019. Got to see a ton of really cool things, like a whale fall, octopus nursery, baby octopus hatching, on hydrothermal vents, and now I'm coming back as a contractor.
Very cool. And was that the path you saw for yourself originally, or is this one of these great opportunities that have come along? And
Well, I have a background in marine science. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So did some work on marine protected areas and then kind of fell in love with underwater photography, so pursued film and really love the idea of branching film with marine science. So pursued that internship opportunity and then got to come back this year.
Very cool. All right. How about you, Nav? And I do know you have a name. Can you introduce us, or would you prefer if I called you Nav?
I'm Lynette. You can call me either. That's fine.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I definitely did not have a linear path to get here. I was an art major as an undergrad, and worked as a metalsmith and jeweler for several years before going to grad school for computer science and ocean engineering, and that is ultimately how I ended up here.
Ooh, do you still do any metal smithing and jewelry work?
A little bit.
Is it inspired by anything you see? I feel like a hydrothermal vent ring would be a conversation piece.
That would be pretty intense, yeah. No, I can't say I've made any ocean-inspired pieces.
That's okay. It's good to have, separation between work and hobbies, right?
That's right.
Very cool. All right, Danny, what about you?
What about me? How did I get here?
Yeah, and I don't mean out of bed this morning.
Actually, I have a pretty, I'm going to say non-linear pathway as well. I started this industry as a marine engineer and working in the engine room on UNOL's research vessels. And I got to know the scientists, and I found out that a lot of the scientists had trouble maintaining their instrumentation. They'd come out to cruises and they'd have an issue with their instrument or the lander or something, and they weren't totally equipped for mechanical failures. And I was able to kind of get a niche fixing that and helping them. And with that, I met the right people where I eventually got a job at the machine shop for UH, where I build the equipment like the equipment we're servicing here. We build the same kind of stuff.
And what's UH?
University of Hawaii.
University of Hawaii. Just for the folks who don't know. Cool.
And I started working with the ROV Hercules team. And then last year I met these wonderful people with the Nautilus. And I started working with Herc during the overhaul. The new frame swap we did last year. And the rest is history.
Very cool, very cool. Okay.
I do have one thing I did make that is ocean themed.
Oh yeah?
Well, I should say ocean instrumentation themed. We were salvaging some of the metal from some of the sediment traps, just like the sediment traps you guys have on the back deck. The older generation had a ring around the top and bottom, and actually I took the two rings, welded them together, and turned it into my coffee table in my living room.
Oh, cool. What did you put on top? Where were they?
It's glass.
Glass?
I put a glass table in the top ring, so it's a titanium ring, and that's my coffee table.
Oh, there you go.
That's a one-of-a-kind piece.
Hey, recycling's recycling. I love it.
Upcycling.
Upcycling, absolutely. Yeah. What about you, AJ? I know you're avoiding my eye contact, but how'd you get there?
I don't know. Just hung out, you know. No, I mean I did a mechanical engineering in Ontario. No real interest in the ocean, but my then girlfriend, now wife at the time, did her PhD out in Halifax. So I, after working for a year in a gold mine, I wanted to move to Halifax to be with her. So I just was looking for jobs out there, and I found a job in the ocean industry working for this company, DSA, and I was there for 7 years. She finished her PhD and wanted to move back home to BC. And so I followed her back out to BC and made the jump over to ONC about 5 years ago. And yeah, no, it's been good. Even out east, I got to spend some time on boats. I did work with the commercial fisheries out there, and we did instrumentation packages for the tidal energy industry. And so a lot of that experience was able to transfer over to these types of cruises. But of course, like ONC, the knowledge base is so specific to Neptune and the instruments and what's here and what's there that there's so much learning. But yeah, no, the cruises are a lot of fun. So
Well, I'm having a great time.
keep coming out.
All right, Megan.
What, the long story or the Cliff Notes version?
Well, how many minutes we got left in our ascent?
Yeah, you got to fill the
bunch.
rest of the ascent.
We've got a bunch.
Yeah.
Um,
How about right in the middle? Give us the cliff long version.
the Cliff long version, okay. So I grew up on the East Coast of Canada. I went to university at Dalhousie University in Halifax, and I thought I was going to study chemistry. And then I took organic chemistry, and I thought, no, I'm not going to do this. Then I switched to engineering and studied civil engineering. And while I was there, I did an internship with the Geological Survey of Canada Atlantic at the Bedford Institute of Oceanography, and started going offshore as a student, and decided this was my jam. And after I graduated, I went and worked in the Gulf of Mexico for a number of years. Then I went back to graduate school at University of Rhode Island, along with a good chunk of the front row, and did a ocean engineering degree. Then I went back and worked in industry and came up to work at ONC about 4 years ago when an opportunity came up.
Thank you. Awesome. Actually, maybe Megan, you can help us with this. What's the difference between a hydrothermal vent and a cold seep?
One's cold.
One's hot and one's cold.
One's cold.
I think I might have an idea, but I really don't want to lead people astray.
So there'll be a tune-in next time. Do you think we might run into any cold seeps where we're exploring?
Yeah,
lots of
we're
cold
looking for
seeps
them.
at Barclay Hydrates.
Okay.
So
The chicken bucket.
yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
at Clay Quad Bullseye, there are cold seeps there.
Okay. The chicken bucket. What do chickens have to do with cold seeps there, AJ?
Nothing.
We're not supposed to call it the chicken bucket. One of the instruments we have on deck is a rotary sonar, and I think we're going to be deploying it for it to, yeah, be able
Berkeley
to
hydrates, yeah.
see and measure the cold seeps at Berkeley hydrates. Yeah, so it has kind of a rotating head on it and sends out a sonar pulse and is able to kind of see underwater and pick up where these cold seeps are coming out of and whether they're getting bigger or smaller, that kind of stuff. Because of the kind of plastic housing to protect the instrument, looks a lot like a KFC bucket. So we call the instrument the chicken bucket.
Chicken bucket, yeah.
The cold seeps at Berkeley and at Clayoquot are mostly methane. So like there'll be hydrates formed sort of in the sediment, which is sort of like a crystalline matrix that can hold quite a lot of gas.
It kind of looks like ice or frozen butter.
Yeah, frozen butter is a good description.
Yeah.
And it contains, just by the structure of it, it can hold quite a bit of gas. And as things change, if the pressure changes or the temperature changes, because it's quite fragile, it needs a pretty specific range of temperature and pressure to stay stable. So as that changes, it releases some of the gas, and that's what we're able to monitor.
And so I guess, well, I remember Martin, our scientist, Martin Sherbath, when we were hunting for bubbles last year on the Nautilus, he was saying that they're very tidally dependent because
the pressure,
the change in hydrostatic pressure from the tides. So you're less likely to see bubbles, I guess, when it's high tide, because there's just more sort of static head holding the hydrates in solid form.
So even though we don't really recognize the tides out here, we don't feel them going up and down per se, they do have a significant impact on hydrates and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And
Cool.
we pick them up with our bottom pressure recorders, so you can log on to our data portal and look at any bottom pressure recorder, and you'll see that tidal signature pretty clearly.
That one's, yeah, I like that one. It's a really nice undulation, tide in, tide out, tide in, tide out.
You can see it on CTD data too.
Oh, yeah.
Because the CTD, the depth component of the CTD is a pressure sensor.
There you go. Actually, you reminded me, AJ, when you said it looks like a chicken bucket. There's there's footage on our YouTube channel, Ocean Network's YouTube, of an octopus brooding in a rice cooker, and the very start of the video is driving I think maybe Mach 1 or version 1 of the chicken bucket, or the bubble sonar, pardon me, the scientific name, the bubble sonar. So that's a really great video to check out too, just because it's kind of, there's lots of bubbling there, there's the octopus, there's
A chicken bucket.
Yeah.
Everything you need in one.
Everything you need in one. Oh, and someone asked me how I ended up on this project, and
Oh yeah, Monica,
I guess
you're holding out.
oh darn.
Jeez.
Right? Darn it. So I actually started as a teacher. I grew up in Sydney, where we left from. I mean, you could almost see my childhood home from IOS, and which is Institute of Ocean Sciences, and I had the opportunity to go to UVic and become an educator, a teacher, a classroom teacher. I thought, oh, that would be fun, and get to work with students and show them the world. And then this opportunity came up with Ocean Networks to focus on ocean science, and much like yourselves, got hooked on all the cool stuff and the technology, Neptune, Venus, and everything that was happening at that time. And the opportunities appeared, and I challenged myself to say yes. I actually remember my first trip ever on the Nautilus. They had to take a little boat out to it, so we loaded into this little rubber boat, and they drove us to the Nautilus, and I climbed up the ladder, and I thought, here's a decision that's going to be hard to undo. And off we went for 3 weeks, and I've never looked back. I'd never want to undo it, but Yeah, definitely didn't think about what I was agreeing to, and that was probably a good thing. You gotta just dive in. What would be your dream find? And this we've got a viewer here, and they've suggested some things like the Kraken or Cthulhu. So I'm going to say, what would be your dream find? And I'll even allow for maybe the scientifically implausible.
The lost city of Atlantis.
Yeah, that would be quite implausible, but very interesting.
Is it? We don't know.
That is true. That's true. I shouldn't pass judgment.
Hard to prove a negative.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, oh boy, can you imagine our viewership though if we found it?
Yeah, that would be a real
I think Megan would be on the front page of the paper again.
real boon for sweeps week.
Yeah.
We found a megalodon.
Megalodon, that's a good one, Danny. Yeah, there was a tooth they found actually a while back. In a sample, they found a megalodon tooth. So maybe we can build one piece at a time.
Oh, now we're going like Jurassic World.
Mm.
We brought it back.
What about you, Lynette? What would be your dream thingy?
I don't know, probably a bunch of gold.
Bunch of gold? Okay. Yeah. Ashley?
Maybe giant squid.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'd be really interested in finding a giant squid too, actually. That'd be really neat. What about you, Joe? Sorry, Jake. What about you? What would you see?
I was wondering if...
Sorry.
No,
I
it's
will
all
be
right.
honest, it is my first day.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, maybe I'll just talk, but I wasn't sure.
No.
Maybe there was a Joe in the room.
No, you gotta hold
Yeah.
you gotta hold my feet to the fire so I learn your name.
I don't know. There's a lot of good answers out there. I do always get drawn to that whale highlight, the sperm whale, Nautilus,
Yeah, that one's a good one.
and I would love to see that like live, a whale like that.
What was that one about? Like, was
it
it
was-
doing something cool?
It was on a scent like this, and all of a sudden a vertical sperm whale just appeared, like, I don't know, 5 to 10 meters from the vehicle, and it's got like millions of views on YouTube, the video of it. But all of a sudden, everyone's like, "Oh my God!" And there's sperm whale.
Yeah, wanted to have a look at it at the ROV.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a
That's
great
pretty cool.
great comment here about finding something previously thought long extinct. One of my favorite creatures is the coelacanth, and that's a fish that we thought was, nothing but fossil record, and then they found it again, and they have a really cool name. They're called Lazarus species when they're believed to be extinct and then rediscovered. And there's a handful of them out there in the world, and those ones to me are seriously cool as well. I think that would actually be my answer as well, is to be looking at something and realizing that, it's still out there, whatever it is,
That's the only thing you can see because there's an Orion in the way.
Could be. I'm gonna give this to the crew in the front here. Has Nautilus discovered any unnamed species? Now, we know that there's quite a bit of work that goes into naming a new species or identifying it as an unnamed species, but do any come to mind where you found it? Or maybe we'll give it a little more generosity because unnamed is pretty tough. What about, poorly described or rarely described?
Oh, we don't have anything like albinaconcha or what are some of the other Victor?
Alvinaconcha, no, that's got to have something to do with Alvin, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What
and
what
then
is?
There's one named after Victor. I can't remember that one off the top of my head. But no, nothing named after the vehicles or the ship that I know of.
Hey, we'll cross our fingers and our toes. Maybe this will be the one, right?
We have, according to the scientists back here, we've discovered a lot of new, never before seen.
Purple urchins in the abyssal plain. Apparently, I was one of the first persons. I was the first person to actually successfully sample one intact.
On this boat?
Hey.
No, not on Kilo Moana with Lukai.
Sweet.
And the way I did it is I actually scooped it up with the manipulator and balanced it on jaws. We were able to take the sample intact. I actually got 3 of them on that cruise.
And that sampling is important because that gives us the ability to DNA test it and make sure that it is a completely new species or find out who its family members are.
Definitely.
Cool.
We've done a lot of unidentified samples, and we don't get closure later from the scientists. Like, what was that thing we discovered and sampled? Up it goes into a wherever they
I think it could take like several years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to go through
All sorts of processes.
Well, when the PI is jumping up and down in the back of the van, screaming, "I want that!"
I was
Do
thinking
everything you
of,
possibly can to get it. And the funny thing about that story is when I had it balanced on the manipulator jaws, my cell phone alarm went off, and it was, "I like to move it," playing in my pocket while I'm trying to focus every ounce of my being on sampling this urchin. The entire van fills up with laughter. Needless to say, that tone never was an alarm again.
Yeah.
I'll have to play that next time you're on the manip.
That's the kind of thing you have in reserve for the right moment.
Yeah, we're rolling back and forth. I've got both hands on the manipulator, balancing this urchin that's literally paperweight on the end of the jaws. And I like to move it, and I can't reach into my pocket and shut it off, so it played for a good 5 minutes. Broke the tension of the whole situation.
You know, sometimes that's the best thing for a tense situation is just, whew. Yeah, do our best.
Everyone else started laughing. I was,
Can you laugh at it now?
I can laugh at it now.
Oh,
but
then you're good.
during the time, it was the most stressful moment in my life. I was trying to get this sample that no one's ever seen before, and the scientists are just like yelling at me in the back row. Not to damage it, not to drop it. And then I like to move it. Starts playing in my pocket.
I recently found out one of my contacts, they changed their ringtone to a goose honking. And if you phone them on Google Chat, it just goes honk, 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 like a ringtone. And I don't know that I have the ability to resist using that knowledge for evil.
Remember the Geico commercial with the little piggy that would go wee, wee, wee? My adopted dad had that as his ringtone. And we'd be sitting there at dinner at a restaurant, and all of a sudden, wee, wee, wee. Just like the most annoying little pig squealing wee you can think of.
I got another great question coming in here about, are there magna penis squid, which I had to look, and another common name for those ones are big fin squid, and I don't think we'll see any because they're quite deep.
Did you move the back deck cam?
My quick little search, but you know, hey, maybe that'll be one of those strange things we come across. Although we certainly aren't anticipating it.
It's the one that looks down from the social deck, I think.
Yeah, they get a mind of their own once in a while. I can go reset it if you need.
I think video just
That might have been me.
Danny, the viewers liked your story.
I don't know. The best thing about coming out here, though, is you discover something new every day. Every day is a new challenge. It's never the same mundane story. Every day is something new.
Right now it's the 30.8 red display on your graphanograph. And do something about that.
I knew that was bugging you.
You're exceeding the limit by 1 amp.
Well, we could slow down our ascent.
I won't change it. Turn off the light. Turn off aft. No, I don't turn that
True,
one
we
off.
could
Turn off
a light.
port starboard light.
Danny, that's a great point. You always see something new, and again, maybe I'll shout out to some of the fixed cameras that ONC has that you can access on our website, oceannetworks.ca. Those fixed cameras are on various times of day, depending on where they are, and we need people watching them, telling us if they see cool things and alerting us to what's going on down there. And you know, we've got some pretty amazing discoveries actually from viewers who have tuned in and said, hey, what is that? You guys see that thing on that camera? And that's always helpful to ONC because there's so much data and so many cool things to see.
Damn, I turned off the downlights and we lost a whole like 9 amps.
Yeah, that's because there's 4 of them on there.
And great questions about how we're chatting with all these folks and getting all this data. And it's, of course, use of telepresence and satellites lets us do this. Or, of course, in the case of the network, we've got all these cables plugged in, so we've got internet connectivity. And it's all coming together in a delicate ballet that lets us share this with the world as it's happening and chat about it. Make it all available for the viewers.
What does the port rail camera look like with those lights off? Just curious. You have to swap over. It's on bio box right now.
Cameras. I think he wants to swap over the bio box to the Niskin camera.
Well, that's interesting.
Oh, you can see him pretty well.
You can see the blue cat blinking.
Yeah.
There's too much
Blinky
light
cat.
Speaking of adjusting the cameras, you've mentioned a few times that there's a few of them you'd like to kind of tweak a little bit. Is that something you can do while we're ascending? Or do you have to do that manually, kind of bolt it back into place when we're on deck?
It's manual on deck activity. Cameras and lights, they're never perfect, but they're
Is
They
that
get
the
a little
valve packs making all those lights?
closer. No, that's the blue cat, and they get a little closer after each dive.
How many cameras and lights in total does Herc have?
That is an outstanding question.
Right away, Kristen. Next one, please.
Count.
It has 14
lights.
14 lights,
Yeah.
and at the moment it's got
1, 2, 3, 4,
8
5,
cameras.
6, 7, 8, 9. I think there's 9.
9? You sneak another one on there?
Yeah, 9 cameras.
Look at that, 9 cameras. Very cool.
So
Video.
here's a good sciencey question. I had to look it up because I always forget. Each of our lights is 10,000 lumens.
10,000 lumens.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So how many, if we have, what did I say, 14 lights on the vehicle? How many automobiles with their headlights on high beams does that equate to?
More than 2.
Add a couple zeros.
Add a couple zeros, yeah.
Add at least 1 0.
Video, how does all that light help you out in taking all these great shots?
Sorry, which light?
Well, with those 14 lights and 9 cameras, how does why the lights down here? What does that help us do?
Helps us see.
I guess
But most of what I'm doing is controlled by the iris on the Herc camera.
How do we know if it's the right color when we're looking at it? Like, how do we know that those lights are giving us kind of true to life?
Well, at the beginning of each dive, we will do a white balance when we get down to the seafloor.
Can you walk me through that? I'm not really sure what a white balance is.
Me neither.
Well, basically, we'll zoom in the Herc cam so that it's on a white area on the arm of the ROV, and then it's just a feature within the camera that allows, we'll push the white balance feature, and it'll make sure everything's true color, since, you know, we lose a lot of colors as we descend.
So those purple sea urchins really are purple.
Yes.
Very cool. There's a great question here about some mapping of the seafloor. Most of the seafloor in the area that we're in right now is fairly well known. That's part of how we know where we want to put our instruments and our equipment, and see what we want to plug in and all that kind of stuff. There may be some opportunities for additional mapping if there's weather or things like that, but this is maybe a bit unique in that it's fairly well mapped. But it's a great question, because maps are the starting point, you know? Where are you going to put stuff if you don't know where you even are?
Wait till you see Narvit mapping a hydrothermal vent in real time.
Yeah, that's a good one. We're going to be doing some hydrothermal vent mapping. That'll be really exciting.
I'm so excited for that. You have no idea.
The models
for the
that
Narvit
machine produces are just absolutely incredible.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Megan? Why is that exciting, other than, ooh, new map?
When you're, for me anyway, when you're diving at the hydrothermal vents, you're only seeing what the camera can show you, so you kind of lose a little bit the scale of what's going on, and how things are related to each other spatially. So like you kind of have an idea, but to see it sort of all linked together in one sort of model that gives you some spatial awareness and some height awareness, I think it'll be pretty epic.
Yeah, it is easy to lose the perspective when you're down there and everything's kind of flat, so.
One of the analogies I hear is what we're doing here is very similar to wandering around in a giant parking lot with a pen light, a dark parking lot with a pen light, or hiking up a mountain at night, mountain trail with a very dim flashlight.
With a very dim flashlight, yeah. Do not recommend. Let us do that. Yeah. We'll do that on the seafloor. You guys can stay in the comfort of your home.
We can only really see about, 10 meters, 30 feet. And the reason those structures that we were looking at today were yellow is because that camera picks them up. but if that happened to be a rock or something, we could barely see it, or maybe see some outline.
Fantastic.
The multi-beam map that the ship makes, in these water depths, it has like 100-meter resolution. So all the pixels that you see on the nav screen, or all the colors are, that's 100-meter. Each pixel is 100-meter, but the Norbit is getting like centimeter accuracy each pixel. So I don't know what the actual accuracy of the Norbit is, but it's down there somewhere.
What kind of time will that take us?
We get maps on the screen real time, so our nav solution is taking all the sensors off of the ROV and the multi-beam data, and it's drawing a map with the ROV and the model. It looks, if you've ever played Minecraft, or have kids that play Minecraft, or students that play Minecraft.
I've heard of it. I might have heard that term before.
It looks very similar to a Minecraft world, but there's so much data there that he's representing the data chunks and what he calls voxels, which look to me like a Minecraft.
Right, so instead of a pixel, a voxel.
Yeah.
Because 3D. Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And as the beam of the Norbit is sweeping around, those voxels are appearing on the screen real time. It can't be the real data, otherwise you would need like a supercomputer to display that real time. But it's just incredible from an operator standpoint, or from the immersive experience in this room, to be able to see the wall of a cliff come to life 100 meters out. So we have a 2D sonar where we can see basically a reflection. It's like driving your car at night and you see a reflection and a reflector on a sign light up further away than you can see the sign. It's kind of what our 2D sonar is like. But the multi-beam sonar on the vehicle, combined with the photogrammetry that we're getting from the cameras, is going to be pretty cool. Some of the maps that we made last year were, I think, on our website somewhere. But yeah, it's pretty neat to experience it real time. We haven't done any of the hydrothermal vents yet, so it's going to be new for us.
Very cool. Well, it is early days, so we got time. I think seeing someone build a hydrothermal vent in Minecraft would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So got any artists or enthusiasts out there?
That reminds me. So last year we found some of Mbari's data, 3D data, and we had that pulled up, and it really helped us to, like, because we have all these 2D maps and drawings and highly accurate engineering drawings for where things are with the details of the cables and how the cables are laid out. But as Megan said, from getting the spatial perspective of, like, when you walk into a room, you look around, you can see where the chair is and the couch is and refrigerator and the kitchen and all that. It's really hard to construct that in your head.
It's almost like standing in the middle of, downtown New York City and trying to figure out where you are in reference to everything else, but having a map in your hand where you can look down on it and see, okay, well, I'm here, and the Empire State Building is, so many blocks up from me, where you can't actually see it, just looking around, surrounded by big buildings.
Very cool.
You can't necessarily get the scale of it either unless you're looking at an overview. I'm a big fan of maps.
Well, and I'm personally excited about possibly 3D printing once we have that, and getting, touch it and feel it, and maybe not in a true-to-life scale, of course, but still to be able to kind of, as you say, experience those pieces as they come into our knowledge is great.
There are some giant 3D prints from some columnar basalt that we did last year, floating around in here. You seen those?
I saw it in the lounge. There's a 3D printed piece.
Well,
that's like a bathymetry or something.
Yeah.
You'll know where to find me later. Yeah. I know a few years ago there was also photogrammetry was used to make a model.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool as well.
Yeah, one of the whiz kids we had out here was taking that and took over our 3D printer and burned quite a bit of filament. Yeah, he's the one that printed there's the Nautilus, several Nautiluses in there floating around, and
Yep.
several of the rather striking features that we came across.
Right. Now, what is Norbit? What is that an acronym? Is that a pet name? Is that a?
We have a strange tradition on Nautilus of calling things by their manufacturer name.
Ah, okay.
So
okay.
Norbit is the manufacturer.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I don't think that's a strange tradition. I think it is. It gives you something to talk about.
Yeah. Well, do you call your car like the Chevy or the Ford or the Honda or whatever? Toyota.
Yeah.
I am a little bit of a nerd. I refer to my car as Copernicus because it takes me all over the place. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody got a good name for their vehicle? Hercules doesn't count. You got to pick a different vehicle.
Not one I can say on SPL.
Oh. All right.
Actually, the other vehicle I work on, Lu'ukai, is a Hawaiian word for sea diver.
Is that what that stands for? I did not know that. I never even thought to ask what Lu'ukai meant.
Hawaiian for sea diver. That's pretty cool. And we got some questions about our upcoming plans, and of course, as always, our plans are the best of the best of the best, providing our weather works and everything like that. But the best place to find updates on when we might be on those hydrothermal vents or other places is our socials, our website, both oceannetworkscanada.ca and nautiluslive.org. Those will have the most accurate, because of course we do have to make some decisions on whether or not it's safe to dive or where we want to be and what we're going to do. So that's the best place to check out kind of alerts for those of you who are wanting to tune in for different things. And then everything we collect will be in the Ocean Networks Canada data portal. So if you're interested in some of the things we saw last year, that's a great spot. Both organizations have fantastic YouTube channels with lots of info there. So if you've had enough blue water, you can check those out as well. And I know on the Ocean Networks Canada website, there's maps that are available to the public. Some of the maps are available to the public from OET. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not sure where the links are on our website, but I would imagine they're on there somewhere.
That is the one problem when you bring in tons and tons and tons of data. You got to store it somewhere, and then where's my breadcrumbs to find it?
Lynette probably knows where the, in theory, all of our multi-beam mapping winds up on Google Oceans, but there's the, I can't remember the name of the other
Our
one.
data goes to a lot of public databases, but I'm not quite sure of the turnaround time on that. I think it can take some time for the data to get put into those databases and publicly available.
I'm still waiting for Hunga Tonga to show up. We mapped around the island after the volcano made it, and I haven't checked lately, but I was expecting it to be there like the next day.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah. But I mean, the other thing that's worth pointing out is how collaborative this all is. You know, all these organizations that we're talking about and all these maps that are available and shared. I mean, we can't do it without sharing with each other and kind of cross-pollinating and getting all that data out to all these folks and of course the public as well. And you know, the more you know, the more you can investigate and protect. And a great question about what might cause us to cancel a dive. And again, full-on canceling would be safety concerns, things like weather and waves and other issues. But of course, you know, delays can happen from equipment and maybe staff. Our priorities might change depending on what weather windows are available to us and what we need to accomplish. So it's a complicated decision-making process.
Above my pay grade, thankfully.
Yeah, me too. And there's a lot of responsibility there, but The folks who take that on there, they're well equipped. And of course, some folks reminding me, you know, a blue water dive is just as good as any other dive, and I completely agree. There's all these creatures going by, and, you know, I find it a little therapeutic, actually, you know. Blue water, good conversation.
Still a lot of dynamics going on for us. We're running the vehicle at 100%
Now,
right now, and
what do you mean by that? Running
winch has got a lot of bits turning on it, and pretty soon we'll start moving the vessel. 100%. Where our vertical thrusters are
Full beans.
full beans, pegged.
And what's ideal? What would you like to see as ideal?
Well, that is ideal. Be able to run it at full speed.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
We pay for it during the winter doing maintenance, but you know, it's ship time. You know, ship time is expensive, and we want to get as much bottom time out here as we can. So
That makes sense.
getting the faster we transit through the water column, get the vehicle back on deck, transit the vessel to the next location, get all the jewelry ready for the next deployment, and get back down to the bottom again. The less blue water you'll have to sit through.
That's true. What is Herc's fastest speed? How fast can he go?
About 2 knots
2 knots. Okay.
with a tailwind.
With the tail, yeah.
Yeah.
So 2 knots isn't terribly fast.
Walking speed.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Walking speed. That's a great analogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we were transiting at about 10 knots yesterday.
The vessel, yeah.
That's a fairly good clip.
The vessel can do 12. I think Lynette likes to map the seafloor around 9 knots, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, depends what kind of survey we're doing, what kind of water depth we're in, but slower usually better for mapping data.
I see. I'll just throw this in because we're of where we are. I'm very likely to be familiar to some of our BC and Victoria listeners about the BC ferries. So BC ferries is one that a lot of folks know locally, and they go at a speed of about 23 knots. So we're traveling about half as fast as BC ferries, and then, of course, as you said, 2 knots for Herc. So a nice leisurely stroll, I think.
That's flat out our typical speed. Like when we're zooming around on the bottom is about 1/3 of a knot, or 10 meters a minute.
Crawling speed.
Yeah, crawling speed. It looks really fast, but if you walk at a brisk pace and look straight down at your toes, it looks a lot like you're moving a lot faster than if you're looking at the horizon. We're typically looking down at the seabed.
I see here as well, there's some great options. Folks are sharing things that they've seen on previous dives, and so midway ships are some examples, and other deep sea things. So again, don't forget, you can always go to the websites and you can check those out. YouTube, Ocean Exploration, oceannetworks.ca. We've got all that stuff. Of course, what's happening live is always the most fun and exciting, but we've got such an archive and there's everything in there, and we always invite you to take a look and explore. I will say that actually some of the longer dives I like to throw on YouTube while I'm doing my cleaning, wander back, see what's happening. Keeps me on track.
Did you get it to speed up?
Danny, about how long did it take us to get to the bottom last night? Do you know?
Well, for the first 1,000 meters, we were going at 10 meters a minute.
10 meters a minute. All right.
And then second half of that, we bumped it up to 30.
Okay.
So it's about just over 2 hours.
Okay. That, you know, that doesn't sound too bad actually. And why the 10 meters a minute for?
That was for vertical transect, for blue water transect.
Checking out the critters, whatever might be there. And some folks asking if we're always in Canada. Ocean Networks Canada, of course. Our network is fixed, so we are. But the Nautilus team will be heading to some pretty exciting places this year, actually. American Samoa, going out to Palau, all sorts of places. So, no, definitely not just stuck on Canada. Other places to check out. Oh, there goes a fish.